There is a man you cannot stand. You know who he is. Maybe he's the arrogant man at your office whose self-assurance makes your skin crawl. Maybe he's the overly emotional man you see as weak, whose vulnerability disgusts you. Or maybe he's the ruthless competitor who you label as a monster. You have a story about this man, a clean, simple story where you are the reasonable one, and he is the one who is flawed. You judge him, you criticize him, and you feel a strange sense of moral superiority in doing so. This story is a comfort. It keeps your world in order. It keeps your view of yourself intact. But in this video, we are going to take that story and hold it to the fire, because the intense, visceral reaction you feel towards that man is a lie, a carefully constructed illusion to protect you from a truth so deeply unsettling. You have built your entire personality around avoiding it. Here is the truth. The problem is not the monster you see in him. The problem is the monster you refuse to see in yourself. The intense hatred you feel for his arrogance is not a judgment. It is a confession. The disgust you feel for his weakness is not a critique. It is a cry from a part of your own soul that you have caged, abandoned, and left to rot in the dark. This is the story of how a man meets his own shadow, and how, in the depths of that darkness, he finds his greatest treasure. The first step is a confession that will feel like a betrayal of your own identity. You must admit that your most intense and irrational judgments of others are not objective truths. They are projections. You have to confess that the reason you are so enraged by the arrogant man is that you have starved your own ambition. You have told yourself that confidence is conceit, that self-belief is narcissism, and so you have locked your own power away. His freedom to be powerful is a direct insult to your own self-imposed imprisonment. He is not the problem. He is the mirror showing you the king you were too afraid to become. You have to confess that the reason you are so repulsed by the weak, emotional man is that you have disowned your own vulnerability. You were taught that a man's heart is a fortress, that feeling is a liability. So you executed your own capacity for deep feeling. His ability to feel openly is a threat to the sterile, strong identity you have so carefully constructed. He is not the problem. He is the mirror showing you the human you were too afraid to be. This is the foundational admission. Your strongest negative reactions are not a window into someone else's soul. They are a treasure map pointing to the abandoned dungeons of your own. Acknowledge this fully and without negotiation, and we can begin the descent. Once we face this reflection, we must ask the question, why? Why do we lock away vital parts of ourselves? Why do we create this inner monster, this shadow, and then spend our lives pretending it doesn't exist? The why is the story of your survival. From the moment you were born, you were taught a set of rules from your parents, your teachers, your society. You learned that certain parts of you were good and would be rewarded with love and acceptance. Your compliance, your quietness, your agreeableness. These became your conscious personality, your persona, but you also learned that other parts of you were bad, unacceptable. Your aggression, your unfiltered desires, your ambition, your vulnerability, your rage. These parts were met with punishment, disapproval, or shame. And so, like a child hiding a forbidden object, you took these vital pieces of your life force and you shove them into the darkness of your unconscious. You created a dungeon and threw the most powerful, dangerous, and authentic parts of yourself inside. This collection of exiled parts is your shadow. It is not evil. It is simply what you have rejected. But that which is repressed does not die. It festers, and it seeks the light. The only way it can be seen is when you see it in someone else. This is the mechanism of projection. You are not actually seeing the other person. You are seeing your own exiled monster, your own caged king, looking back at you from behind their eyes. The intense emotional charge is the sound of your own soul rattling its cage. The dungeon you built is not holding a monster. It is holding your own untapped, ferocious power. To reclaim this power is the work of a lifetime. It is not about killing the monster. It is about befriending it, listening to it, and integrating its power. This is shadow work. It requires a descent into your own personal underworld, and it is done in 3 stages. First is the practice of humble observation. Your emotional reactions are now your compass. When you feel that disproportionate anger, that visceral disgust towards someone, you must stop. You must turn the lens of judgment away from them and point it back at yourself. You must ask the sacred question, what in them lives in me? This is not an exercise in self-flagellation. It is an act of profound curiosity. Second is the act of conscious withdrawal. You must learn to separate the person from your projection. You can say to yourself, yes, that man is acting in a way I find arrogant. That is an objective fact. But the intense rage I feel, the burning in my chest, that is mine. That is my shadow. In this moment, you take your power back. You stop being a victim of your own reactions and become a student of them. You unhook your soul from the other person. Third is the dialogue with the darkness. The parts you have exiled must be given a voice. Through journaling or active imagination, you must invite the monster out of the dungeon for a conversation. You ask the arrogant part of you, what do you want from me? What is your purpose? You may find it is not arrogance at all, but your capacity for leadership. You ask the weak part of you, what gift do you hold? You may find it is not weakness, but your capacity for connection and empathy. You must listen without judgment, as if to a long-lost brother. This leads to the final stage, the integration. The goal of shadow work is not to become a good man. The world has enough well-behaved empty men. The goal is to become a whole man, and wholeness includes the darkness. The man who has descended into his own dungeon and made peace with his monsters is a different kind of man. He is not safe. He is dangerous. He knows his own capacity for rage, but he is not controlled by it. He knows his own capacity for ambition, but it is yoked to his purpose. He knows his own capacity for vulnerability, and he wields it as a tool for profound connection. Integrating your shadow is like adding rocket fuel to your life. The aggression you feared becomes your relentless drive. The hedonistic desires you shamed become your passion for life. The arrogance you despised becomes your unshakable self-belief. The monster, when loved and integrated, reveals that it was never a monster at all. It was a guardian of your greatest treasure. It was the raw, untamed energy of your authentic soul. When you have done this work, the world changes. The people who once infuriated you now become your teachers. You see their flaws, but you are no longer triggered by them, Because you have already owned that same flaw in yourself, you stop living a life of quiet hypocrisy. You stop being a victim of your own reactions. You become a man who is at peace with his own complexity, a man who contains both the light and the dark. And that man, the man who has had the courage to befriend his own monster, is finally, truly free.